Hey, it's Dr. Lakeisha Watson, epidemiologist and data storyteller, translating data into public health insights for Black women. Welcome back to Epi Fridays. All right, today's episode is a special one because I'm partnering with the Foundation for Sarcoidosis Research to talk about sarcoidosis, a condition that does not get enough attention but is impacting Black women in a very real way. And since April is Sarcoidosis Awareness Month, there is no better time to shine a spotlight on this condition, especially for Black women who are disproportionately affected. So let's get into it. Now, a lot of people have never heard of sarcoidosis, and that's part of the problem. Sarcoidosis is an inflammatory disease where tiny clusters of cells form granulomas in one or more organs of the body. Most commonly, it affects the lungs, but it can also impact your skin, your lymph nodes, your eyes, your heart, and other organs. And when those clumps build up, they can interfere with how your organs function and in some cases lead to serious complications. Now, here's why this matters for us. Black women are nearly 3 times more likely to develop sarcoidosis compared to other groups, and it doesn't just show up more often, it shows up more severely. We are more likely to experience chronic disease, have more complications, and higher hospitalization rates. And in fact, hospitalization rates for Black women with sarcoidosis are up to 10 times higher than white women. And the most alarming part, Black women have a significantly higher risk of dying from sarcoidosis, up to 12 to 14 times higher than white patients, and Black women die younger. So while sarcoidosis is considered a rare disease overall, it's not rare in our community. It's just not talked about enough. And part of the issue is how it shows up. So symptoms can look like constant fatigue, shortness of breath, a dry cough that won't go away, skin changes, vision problems, heart palpitations, or just feeling off without clear answers. And because it can look like other conditions, people can go a long time without getting a diagnosis. But this isn't just about symptoms, this is also about systems, because what the data show is that Black women are navigating multiple barriers at once when it comes to care. Things like not being taken seriously, delays in diagnosis, and not always being fully included in treatment decisions. And once diagnosed, Black women are treated with higher doses of steroids for longer periods of time that can have significant side effects. And that directly affects health outcomes. Now, here's where this conversation gets even bigger. Even though sarcoidosis impacts Black communities more, we are still underrepresented in the research used to develop treatments. And so that's where this work becomes more about awareness. It becomes about access and equity. The Foundation for Sarcoidosis Research has been doing a lot of work on this issue through a multi-phase effort focused specifically on Black patients called Ignore No More. Ignore No More started with a campaign centered on Black women to raise awareness and share real stories. Then it expanded into the Act Now campaign, which included a nationwide survey of Black patients with over 400 people sharing their experiences to better understand what's actually happening when it comes to diagnosis, care, and clinical trials. And what FSR found led to the next phase, Roadmap to Progress, which focused on breaking down real barriers people are facing, like not having enough information about clinical trials, cost and job-related challenges, and simply not being asked to participate. And that work led to a larger movement that included the launch of the 43-member coalition to transform clinical trial engagement, which is focused on making sure Black patients are seen, heard, and included when it comes to research and treatment. And that movement has already led to real change, like the federal clarification that the Family and Medical Leave Act, or FMLA, can now be used to cover time off for clinical trial participation, including for caregivers. And that opened the door to job-protected leave for nearly 60 million employees nationwide for all chronic diseases. And to build on that, the coalition launched the Champions for Change PTO initiative, which partners with employers to provide paid time off for clinical trial participation, helping reduce the financial burden that often prevents people from staying in a trial. And today, that initiative is responsible for nearly 60,000 employees who are now eligible for paid time off from their employment. Together, these efforts show what's possible when we center the voices of those most impacted, which is why we must elevate those voices in research, because clinical trials are how we get better treatments. But if we're not included, we can assume those treatments developed are best suited for those who unfortunately have the highest prevalence and worst outcomes. So what does all of this mean for you? If you've never heard of sarcoidosis before, now you have, and visit stopsarcoidosis.org to learn more. If you've been dealing with symptoms that don't quite add up, this is your reminder to ask deeper questions and push for answers. And if you or someone you know is living with sarcoidosis, there are ways to get involved, share your experience, and help shape better care moving forward. You can learn more and get connected through the Ignore No More campaign and resources from the Foundation for Sarcoidosis Research. You can visit ignorenomore.org for more information. I have included all the links below in the caption, because the more we understand, the more we can advocate and the better outcomes we can create for ourselves and for each other. All right, y'all, that is this week's Epi Fridays. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see y'all next week. Bye.